Hi there, everybody. I think we're good to go. All right. Everything looks good here on this end. Okay. Hi there, Michael. Hi, Vivian. Welcome back. Husband and son are doing much better. Thank you. It was touch and go there for a while, and so glad that they are feeling better. Slow, steady progress is what we need right now. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Mina. Hi, Barbara. Hi, Estella. Hi, Dick. Hi, Lynn. Hi, Monty. Hi, Rhonda. Mina, thanks. Glad that you can hear and see me okay. Very much appreciated. Thank you guys for all the well wishes and support and prayers. We really appreciate them. We just keep moving forward, so thank you. All right. So, hi there, Rick. All right, my chair is not cooperating, but we're just gonna make it work. Okay. Just gonna get stuff together here. I am really kind of in the way here, so let me take care of that. Let me go smaller, maybe over here. There we go, that looks a little bit better. Let's see. So we had a vote on Mighty Networks this last week, which is our paid platform, our wonderful community that we have there. And I asked everybody, what do you want to do this following Friday? So we had options of continuing to work on the Lion and the Lamb project that we started, oh gosh, this spring. And we've been making progress on that, but it's taken a little bit of time with my crazy schedule. And so everybody voted to do a new project. And so that's what we're going to do tonight. And this is about a 6x8 piece of wood. Because it has the bevel, it's about 5.5 inches wide and 7.5 inches tall. And that is the size of the project that I'm going to be working on tonight. Much smaller than the Lion and Lamb project, so that'll be helpful to kind of speed things along, and a little bit bigger than a study, but not quite a full large project either. But my goal for this is to help you guys kind of wrap your head around how to wood burn waterfalls, especially. We also have some lovely water ripples down here. This is going to be a really fun and abstract project where you don't have to worry if your rocks don't look exactly like the reference photo. That's totally fine. Just try to get maybe the general shape and especially the values of them. Try to make sure that your darks are dark enough and the lights are going to be, reserved for your highlights here and the water itself. So when we approach a project like this, you can't really burn the water. You have to burn around it. Excuse me. And that is going to be one of the main goals of this project, is to think in terms of negative space. We will add, eventually towards the later stages of this project, we will start adding in some of the subtle shading in the water, but to create the form of the water, you're going to burn around it. So we're going to tackle this project by going for the darkest values first and putting those in, and then we'll start going to the mid-range dark values and then the midtones and just follow that shading scale on up. And at the very end, we'll add a few little lighter midtones to our highlights and we should be golden. So one thing that I I really am leaning towards on this project is this little bit of water up here, I think is kind of distracting to the overall waterfall. So there's a good chance that I will probably make this area here, kind of push it back and make it darker, and that'll make this waterfall really jump forward. So a little bit of artistic renditions on my part, and little tweaks here and there. And that's what I think we're gonna do. I will probably go bouncing back and forth between the coal wood with the small heavy-duty shader point and the shading point that comes with the Walnut Hollow Creative Versa tool. So those are probably the tools that I will be using for the majority of this project. Let's see. We had a few people sneak in here. It was Michelle. Hi, Michelle. And Connie. Hi, Connie. And there's Cynthia and Vian Mom. Hello. Mina, yes, this piece does have a little bit of wood grain there. Whenever I take a look at a piece of wood, I always try to figure out where that's going to impact my project. So if you do have wood grain in there, I like to kind of place it over and then go like this and take a look and see how would that impact my overall artwork. And in that case, it would not go very well because we're going to go right through this beautiful, almost one of the highlights of the project with that lovely waterfall kind of misty area. So I didn't want to do that. So I turned it this way and I'm thinking, I bet I can probably hide that stripe in the dark shadows and the rocks here. So good catch on that. I'm going to really try to do my best to make that go away so it's not as visible as we progress. Let's see. Lynn, we are working on basswood again tonight. Definitely one of my favorite types of wood, especially with a project like this that is so light. Why are you being difficult tonight? I don't need to be difficult, but apparently you're going to be difficult. Alrighty, I'm going to move you over. Okay. Technical difficulties. Alright, I think I still need to, I'm going to still try to make me smaller. Oh no. That's fine. Okay. I'm going to be over here, which means that needs to go that away. Okay. All right, guys. So I think we're ready. Let's maybe try to zoom in a little bit more. As I definitely am going to just dive right in to these darker areas there. But before we do that, let's take our little sanding pad, these lovely little things, and sand down these guidelines. Especially within the waterfall itself, I don't want to see any of these guidelines. In the darker rocks, it's not going to make that big of a difference. But let's just go ahead and do some light sanding to knock down those graphite lines. I know I was taking a look at when I was transferring these on, and I definitely got some of the marks a bit dark, especially on these boulders. But if we need to resand them as we go, we can do that as well. Hi, Zona. Hi, Steve. We're doing better as a family, thank you. Slow progress moving forward is the way to go. Rick is asking if burning the things around the waterfall, kind of like burning by omission. That's definitely a way to put it. I like to think of more negative space. But yeah, we're not like artists that use paint. where we put on a big old stripe of white paint for that waterfall, we have to build the values around it. So we're going to burn the negative space all around the waterfall. And then as you can see here, the brightest parts of this picture are going to be right here as the water cascades out of the light while it's still in the light. And then we have some beautiful light areas here. So those highlights are going to stay more unburned wood. And we're going to push these darks right here and then add a touch of very light shading on that waterfall when we're finally done to help create that illusion of it falling forward. Because if we don't, if we just leave the whole thing nice and bright and white, you'll see that it will have really no depth. You can't see it curving like that. So we'll show that towards the very end. But right now is going to be super fun and very abstract with working on our rock work. And all my stuff is pretty well chaos. But that's seems to be life these days, is chaos. Alrighty, so I'm using the Coalwood Super Pro 2 and the heavy duty small shader. And I am currently on a level 6. And let's see how that does. If I can find where I'm at. There I am. So that's plenty dark. Okay, so I did transfer on a lot of these lovely little details. You could go through and just block this whole area in really dark. That's what it looks like on the reference photo here. But I'm going to try to put in a little bit more information in the background. And I'm going to go down to like a 5.5. And look for the darkest areas. And because I'm working with the Coalwood, I can put these in fairly quickly, whereas with the Versatool and the shading point, it would definitely take a bit longer to get these darker values. So I'm going to kind of bounce around here a little bit, looking for the darkest darks within the picture. See, Vivian is asking, has it ever happened to you that you burn and the wood takes a reddish or a green tone? If so, do you think it might be because of the temperature of the pen? That's interesting. I have seen a little bit of a difference between like shaded values where you burnish the wood more with like almost kind of polish it. Sometimes it has a little bit more of a reddish hue to it, whereas sometimes if I try to take a shortcut and I don't burnish or I use a higher heat, it can change a little bit of color. And are you talking about basswood? But I have definitely seen if you build up the dark values more slowly, sometimes it can have a little bit of a reddish tint to it. That's a very good question. Like burning black backgrounds, I try to do everything consistent in the same manner. So if I start by burning back and forth like that, it generally turns out a little bit more reddish, I guess. But then if I try to So Vivian says yes on basswood and birch. Yeah, that would be my guess, is it could be the temperature, and also I know burnishing the wood while you burn plays a big part as well. And that just means kind of polishing it with the metal tip instead of making lighter contact with the wood. So whatever method you use, try to keep it consistent. I think sometimes when we flip back and forth with that, that can change how it looks. So for this step, I am really focusing on the level 5s of the project. Those are going to be our darkest darks. Lisa is wondering if Vivian's question could have anything to do with either the basswood or the birch being kind of laminated. I know sometimes we get pieces that have been kind of glued together. You can see one here with that there. Guys, I don't know what to do with me. I am majorly in the way. Move me over there. Hi, Kendale. We are focusing on creating the darkest values in the project using the Colwood Super Pro 2 and the small heavy-duty shader point. Vivian, we would love to see that, what you're talking about with the different colors of either more reddish or greenish with the burning. That would be very cool to see. Hi there, Lynetta. Sorry, is it Lynetta or Lynetta? It's a beautiful name. Let's see. Lisa says you may have missed it. Hi there, White Wolf. What is the worst wood that I've burned on? Oh, there's been a couple. Bamboo is very difficult for me to burn on. It's got a very interesting growth pattern that I find very difficult to burn on. Pine is often a challenge to burn on. There's a lot of sap and pitch in that wood. I think it's right here, did a box with, it's called Paulina wood. It's right here, and it's just very, like, almost paper weight. It's very thin. And then this is the bamboo right here with those stripes. And so that was very difficult for me to burn on as well. Generally, if the wood feels pretty lightweight, there's not a whole lot to it there. And I'm not crazy about those really lightweight woods. Yeah, definitely not a fan of pine. Those are probably my top ones. Let's see. Where am I? It is Lynetta. Okay, wonderful. That's what I was thinking. Fantastic. Hi, Larry. Oh, Lisa says pine is the worst and bamboo is the second. Yeah, not very good. Thanks. This was fun. I like the lettering too on that one. This is one of the projects that I first started trying to figure out what I was doing quite a while ago, and I just think I was going to do something else with it and never did. But we've been trying to clean the house, and that just showed up on my desk. So yeah, bamboo is very hard to burn on, like physically. It takes a lot of effort and heat to burn on the wood. Okay, so very, very abstract right now as we're jumping into this, and I'm just gonna keep going on. I love these stripes here in the wood. It almost looks like water stains as the water has been dribbling down the cliff face. So something really crazy happened last night. We were closing down the house and getting ready for bed, and each night we, bring in the kitties and give them their little food, and they go off to bed. And anyway, we went to the front door and went to go outside for some reason. And so you guys have seen our Bobby and Chipper cats. They're the little tabby cats, and they look very similar, although our girl kitty is quite rotund in her proportions. Anyway, I go to the front door, and as I'm opening up the door, there's the tabby cat sitting right there on the deck, and it went flying off the deck and was underneath one of our cars just staring at me. And my son says, "What is Chipper doing outside?" And I'm like, they should not be outside, and that is not Chipper, although you couldn't tell. So I ran back to the bedroom really quick, and there's our Bobby and our Chipper cats. They're sound asleep. And I'm thinking, that is a stray cat in the middle of nowhere at 9,000 feet that just happens to look absolutely identical to our little twin tabbies. I couldn't believe it. And I went outside and called Kitty and offered it food. It finally did come over and was very lovey, but didn't stay very long and didn't want any food or water. So that was a good sign. It was a little thin, but not bad, and overall in pretty good shape, kind of young. But the odds that we happen to have a stray cat that looks just like ours, and we are in the middle of nowhere. Very, very unusual, and I really wanted to get it gathered up and taken to the shelter, but we couldn't get a hold of it. So anyway, wild and crazy thing that happened last night at 9,000 feet. Very unusual. We've had bobcats on the porch, and we've had our daughter saw a bobcat kitten on the porch once, but not a stray house cat. Lynn says, is it all right to mention a basswood sale? Absolutely, yes. Please share. That is great information that I know will benefit everybody. Where am I? Give me 1 minute here. Yes, Mina, absolutely. I'm so glad it was not a bear. Hold on 1 sec. I'll be right back. Our dog wants in. Intermission. Alrighty, guys. Thank you for that little intermission. Okay. Sorry, Lynn. No, we are not adopting another cat. We have 4 already, and cannot take on another cat. Certainly not another male cat. Our male cat that we have right now is handful enough. Vivian says the Kitty Network probably got my name viral as a cat lover. Aw, absolutely. Yep, we do love the kitties. So glad it was not a bear, Mina. I agree. Been there, done that, and that's gets a little exciting. So for projects like this, you can see I'm definitely keeping my finger over the area where I'm burning. It's easy to get lost or get off on the wrong area. And if you do, so what? It's okay. That happens a lot with me when I'm trying to follow stuff like this, is I will get off a little bit. But it's a chunk of rock. So if you get off on the wrong little line or styration, whatever, here, totally fine. I do find, though, it helps me to just go faster if I'm not constantly trying to figure out where am I, which I do a lot of the times anyway. Barbara says your friend in Idaho gets stray kitties from time to time. Oh, and they hang around with barn cats. Cool. I don't think I could have a barn cat. I would want to bring them in and snuggle. Of course, we do have some pretty dangerous weather up here too, and bears. Barbara, she traps them and gets them fixed and fed. Oh, good. Yeah, we have a wonderful animal shelter in the area, down in the valley. So I think that'd be a better place for the kitties. I just kind of wonder if this was somebody else's cat. Maybe they were up here camping or something and it just decided to go on a walkabout, because it was the craziest thing that it showed it up at our place. Lynn says that Hobby Lobby has a basswood on sale this week for 40% off. That is awesome. That is very, very cool. Yes, thank you for sharing that. We can always use some good basswood, especially on sale. Okay. Alrighty. So I'm looking here for any other of the darks. This rock does not have a whole lot of texture, so that's kind of handy that we don't have to, do squiggles and all that in here as well. Okay, next up in our level 5 dark values, we're going to go down here under these rocks. And we're going to transfer some of that out into the water. So whenever we're dealing with water that's kind of laying flat on the earth and it's not falling vertically, any flat water like that, we're going to really focus on using the horizontal strokes to try to capture the overall motion of the water. And then right under here where that rock meets the water, it's quite dark. Oh, Zona, I'm right there with you. I don't need any more basswood, but I You know what? I'm not even going to go online. I'm not going to look at it, because I'm sure that they have probably some new, wonderful, beautiful, unusual slice of basswood that I don't have yet, and I will be tempted to buy it. I have a lot of artwork to create before I kind of put a dent in the basswood inventory. Of course, I've been saving it up for years. Seems like every year, Christmas, I'd buy more, because it was such a good deal. Ah, Larry. So Larry is saying that when you take pictures of waterfalls, you like to use a slow shutter speed, and it creates a very soft effect. I have seen that. It almost looks like it's just very blurry. I I think it's beautiful both ways. As an artist, I kind of like more of a screenshot of a waterfall instead of a time lapse, if that makes sense. I like to see a little bit more detail in the waterfall, but they're very, if I can speak, they're both very beautiful, and I've seen them in each way. Sometimes it's hard to find photographs of waterfalls that have a faster shutter speed. It seems very popular to have it kind of slowed down. Okay. Zona, the wood stash grew by about 100 walnut hollow kits. Oh boy, yep. Alright, so I'm going to slide this over just a little bit, and we will carry on the other side. Still just focusing on those darkest darks. And it's very easy to become overwhelmed with something very complicated like this. You could just pick a section and burn all the shading levels in there if you want. That's totally fine. Sometimes I like to really train my eye on a certain value, and I just go around the picture and I try to focus on just finding those darkest darks. And once my eye is keyed up on that, it goes fairly well and fairly quickly. I'm going to try to stay a little bit away from this leading edge of the waterfall, because I like to do more of my detail work with the walnut hollow creative versatile and the shading point. Larry, you once won a photo competition in Costa Rica with a photo of a waterfall. That's great. Very cool. Barbara, you're the same way. You have totes in your hallway with basswood from Walnut Hollow. Yep. Oh, I have some really exciting news, guys. So we've lived up here at our current place at 9,000 feet for just over 10 years now. And we're surrounded with beautiful, beautiful wood that falls naturally. And it's gorgeous. And I know that we've talked about basswood, or not basswood, aspenwood. We also have fir and spruce. Those aren't very good for burning, but they have other uses for sure. Anyway, I have been wanting a small sawmill forever. And we stumbled upon just a really fantastic deal that we couldn't say no to. And so this morning I ordered a sawmill. So I cannot wait to take, there was this big aspen tree that is huge. It's probably 30 or more inches across. It's huge. And it's gorgeous, and it's just laying on the forest floor, and it's actually in the road too. So, and I can't wait to put that on the sawmill. So very excited about the sawmill. little bit of assembly required with that one, but looking forward to making some larger wood pieces from our native forests. Let's see. Lisa says your husband has banned you from Hobby Lobby. Yeah, I agree. Lynetta, you were working with your Versatool. Nice. You did well with lines, but your shading was a little bit off. Oh, you kept laying the flat part on the wood. Yeah, I find that using a pad to kind of put underneath your hand can rock that point up with the shading point to just get into a better ergonomical position for that. Helps to keep the flat part off the wood. Thanks, Vivian. Thanks, Mina. Yay! Yep, Zona. So excited. We did have a sawmill up here that we borrowed for a couple years and milled a lot of lumber. So it's so neat to see when you cut into these pieces of wood what's inside. Sometimes it's kind of plain and other times it's gorgeous. Especially the aspen wood with all of the different stripes and colors. Sometimes it's green inside, sometimes you got veins of bright pink. It's so, so cool. All right, so we're putting in more of these lovely dark areas here. Oh, thanks, guys. Very excited. Okay. Let's see. Dick is asking, am I the only one who burns on Baltic birch plywood? That's about all you've ever used. It's nice. I like the Baltic birch plywood too. I burn mostly on basswood just because I have a lot of it. I really like it and I enjoy the different varieties, and just that's what I have on hand is that. But I do have some birch plywood as well. You're welcome, Lynetta. Yeah, I think we have on my Amazon store a little pad like this. You can even take a sock and put rice in it. Anything to kind of prop up your hand and get it into a better position. Hi, kitty. You're the one that doesn't bring in creatures, huh? Thank you. See, Vivian has a milling attachment for your chainsaw, but you haven't put it together yet. Those are cool too. Let's see. Barbara is saying that you'd love to burn on the aspen wood, and will I have any available for purchase? That is the plan, yes. Because we are going to have, we have so much wood up here from the years of drought that it's quite sad, and I certainly cannot use it all. I mean, this one tree itself is huge. So yes, I would like to cut them and then kind of sand them down. I do have a planer. We bought a planer that takes up to, I think, 13 inches wide. Otherwise, we can kind of rough sand it with a belt sander, but knock it down and get it prepped. So yes, that is the goal with this new chainsaw. Is not just a toy, but also kind of a business tool to be able to sell those. see. Dick says you like being able to do bigger projects on the plywood. That's very cool. Yeah, that is definitely a limitation with a lot of the basswood. Unless you get it kind of laminated together, which you certainly can. There's a wonderful company called Heineke Wood Products that I have used for larger pieces. I did get a 2 foot by 3 foot piece many years ago. They don't go that big anymore, but close. And it's beautiful, high quality, virtually no weird grain things or spots or knots or stripes like that. It's just really great quality wood. So I highly advise working with Heineke Wood Products if you are seeking quality basswood. It's a little bit higher priced, but not bad for what you get. The quality is certainly there. So for larger projects or commissions that have to be really, really good, and I can't take a chance on maybe sketchy quality wood, I will go with Heineke Wood Products. They rock. Okay. Let's see. Lynn, yes, I do want to sell woodcuts off of the sawmill. Thanks, guys. Ah, Dick, you like Heineke Wood Products for carving. Cool. Yeah, I've not done much in the way of carving, but their basswood is very great quality. Okay, so still just bouncing around here, looking for the darkest darks of the project. That's going to be a lot of times in the crevices, the nooks and the crannies, anywhere where you're farther away from a light source is going to be these dark areas. Here I am. Thanks, guys. I figured, I know we've talked about this in the past as far as working on getting some aspen wood to you guys, and hopefully now we can get all of our ducks in a row to make that happen. Okay, so I kind of went around full circle. To make sure that you guys can see and that I am kind of done on this side. Not quite. All right. Mina, you rock. Thank you. I was just going to ask if you could jot down the names of those that were interested in some aspen, but I thought, you know, I bet Mina has that taken care of. So thank you. Let's see. Rick is asking, isn't carving how I got into wood burning? Technically, yes. I first tried my hand at wood. I don't even see it here. At carving a piece of wood because we were broke and really needing money, and we're surrounded by trees, and I thought, well, maybe if I could carve something, it would look good. It did not look good. So then I tried to burn over the top of it with a very inexpensive little walnut hollow Versatool from Walmart, and it still didn't look very good. But I immediately fell in love with the potential of wood burning. I'm like, this is really cool. So technically, yeah, it is how I got started into wood burning, but kind of, I did one carving and said, yeah, probably not. I do like to whittle, you know, just with a pocket knife. That's fun. Okay, and then we are up here a little bit more too. Michael. You say that Woodworker's Source is your good source of wood. Cool. Woodworker's Source. I'm not sure that I have heard of that one yet. Hi, Tracy. Absolutely. I think that's a great idea, Zona. Tracy is asking if aspen is anything like white birch. Count me in. I think the aspen burns very similar to basswood. It does have, I think, a little bit more of a slight bit more of a honey colored burn to it than basswood, but very, very slight. Okay. I'm not going to worry about those bushes just yet. We'll kind of tackle that one a little bit later. A little bit more of these darker values in here. Okay, so let's take a small moment here to reassess where we're at. I think I have a little bit more here. Hold on, assessment postponed. Got a couple of these up in this area. Okay. So now I think we can take a little step back. All right, so it is very abstract at this point. Doesn't really look like a whole lot. Hello. Oh, here you go. Thank you. You're welcome. But that's okay. This is just step one. And then next we're going to go back and start working on some of our darker midtones. And I think I might go with, we'll work with the Versatool for a little bit because I like the control with it and it makes me happy. So thanks, guys. Yeah, aspen is so beautiful. It's a wonderful, wonderful type of wood. We did a project of a bee. I think it was last spring. We did a honeybee project with a little design on it. So I know that that is probably posted on Mighty Networks, and you can take a look at that if you're interested in the aspen wood and how it all looks. Thanks, Lisa. She is definitely growing up, and I think she looks like me too. Thank you. Thank you, Lynetta. They are doing better. It's husband and son have had a rough go here lately, but on the mend. Thank you. Okay. So this is kind of supposed to be our darker mid-tone in here. So I'm starting to build up a little bit of dark value around some of these little trickles that are coming down from the waterfall. We have some dribbles. We have dribbles, trickles, and then kind of like the waterfall over here. So these are some of the more dribbles, the drips coming down from the rocks above, and you're going to see a little dark spot in between each of those as they're kind of, you know, drip, drip, drip. Okay, but so much of this in here is pretty dark. Also, do you guys know what a burl is? B-U-R-L. Trees sometimes get these burls in them that are kind of an unusual growth. Well, when you cut into those, they're gorgeous inside. And my mom and her husband have, they do wood bowls. I think I've shown you this one before. That they carve, losing stuff, these beautiful bowls. And so I'm always on the lookout for aspen burls for them, because we have some here and there on our property. Well, I found a huge one. It's about 30 inches across. It's huge. We were out fixing a fence and saw this tree that had fallen down, and I thought, oh wow, that is really, really cool. So, hi.
Nice to be home.
How are ya?
We'll talk later. I'm good.
Good. Alrighty. Say hi.
Hello.
Glad you're home too.
Yeah, we have plenty to talk about.
Yeah. Yep. So, the problem with this burl is it's in a very remote area that we're going to have to probably use, you know, we have to pre-cut it, and then probably, I think my husband says we can do like cables and snatch blocks and all that and try to winch it out, but it's probably going to weigh over 100 pounds, and it's huge. And so I'm very excited to, you know, get that flat and then run it through the sawmill and try to get cookies out of that, and use those for projects as well. We'll see how that goes, but that is my hope and my dream and my wish, is that we can get that and make it work. Everybody says hi.
Glad to be home, everybody.
Yep, he's been gone for most of the week, so he just got home. So Michael, yeah, turning burls. A lot of people like them for wood turning, absolutely. Yeah, they make very beautiful bowls. Okay, so any questions at this point? I know it looks kind of like an ant colony is cruising around. That's what it looks like to me, is an ant colony, but it's very organic, very abstract, and we are just focused on our darkest areas. But that is what's going to make all of the magic possible when it comes time to actually putting in the waterfall. So waterfalls are fun, but in order to make them work, you have to get everything else around there. So get enough data around it. Vivian, yes, wood turning is really cool. I'm right there with you. I'm not the best with power tools, so I think I'll leave that to the people that are really good at that and are courageous to play with power tools. You guys remember the time I tried to just cut a piece of wood. I had a big piece of basswood. I wanted to chop a little bit off, and I used a table saw, and it about ate me alive. So, but my loving husband wasn't there, and I was impatient. Mistake number one. And I had seen him use it many times, but nope. Best to be patient and let the professionals do that, or learn enough so you don't scare yourself and hurt yourself like I did. Thanks, guys. Yep, he is, husband is doing much better. He's still not 100% yet, but much, much better than where we were, I think, a week and a half ago. Hi, Kim. Hi, Terry. Let's see. Zona is asking if aspen is technically a softwood or a hardwood. I know... What is it? Soft woods come from anything with pine needles. Hardwoods come from anything with leaves. So technically aspen would be a hardwood. And in my mind, it's always backwards. Because I would think, you know, pine needles are tougher in the winter and they would have harder wood, but I think that's actually the opposite. I'm pretty sure that anything with needles is softwood. Anything with leaves is a hardwood. So deciduous versus conifer. Pretty sure. Oh wow, Michael, you've done some wood turning and you had a huge piece of redwood fly off of the unit. You moved and it left a dent in your car door. Oh wow. Yep. Okay, our ant colony is coming along very well. Moving over here, putting in some of our just darker midtones. Mina says that aspen comes from a broad-leafed angiosperm tree, which automatically places it in the hardwood category. Cool. And Dick says, yep, that's right, even a balsa is a hardwood. Thanks, guys. I really found that all very confusing, hardwood, softwood, but that I have been studying to try to sound a little bit more of like I know what I'm doing. Burning is easy. It's all the other stuff that gets a little bit complicated, I think. Like power tools and technical terms. Let's see. It's not gonna work. There we go. Ah, cool. You're welcome, Tracy. Yeah, I just have to remember that hardwood, softwood is backwards from the way it makes sense to me. And then that helps a little bit. Oh boy, Vivian, you learned that burned hair is really difficult to clean from a burner. Plus, it doesn't matter how short your hair is, you can still burn it. Oh gosh. Yeah, I usually run into kitty cat hairs on my burner. See, Terry says you found a local slab company. They only take appointments. One of these days you're going to make an appointment. Cool. They have a bargain shed. Ooh, that's so fun. And it's really cool because each piece of wood that we work on is one of a kind. It is absolutely unique. There's no two alike. And it really, I think, makes our art even that much more special because of it. So I have a little bit of water spray in here, so I'm going to do some circular motions. I don't know. We'll see how that turns out to shade. And we have some rocks back in here. Also quite dark. Sophie, quit. Hey, quit licking. Thank you. Thanks, Lynetta. No, this is the easiest part of everything that I do in life. Life is hard. But just finding something that you can enjoy and kind of just find very relaxing. Sometimes, you know, to me, it feels more easy because it is relaxing and peaceful. Helps me get away from some of the more challenging, more difficult parts of life. So I guess that's kind of how I mean by burning is easy, because it's very relaxing and peaceful. Let's see. Tracy is asking, is it true that anything that has needles is very sappy and you shouldn't burn on it? I know certain woods are more sappy than others. If you can get wood that's been dried in a kiln, it's completely different. I have heard of some artists that are wood burning artists that work completely on kiln dried pine, and they love it. If pine dries more naturally, yes, it has a lot of sap, and it's difficult. Hi, Chipper. Please tell me you don't have a chipmunk. I would definitely stay away or be cautious of woods that are sappy. You definitely don't want to be breathing in that sappy stuff, the fumes from it. So I'm just really kind of bouncing around here on this project, trying to look for the darker areas. Yep, there's Chipper. He has such a voice. Zona says he has opinions. Oh, yes, he does. He got grounded this morning, and he was very unhappy about being grounded. But he brought in not one, not two, but a total of 3 chipmunks into the house yesterday afternoon alone. So, we were none too pleased with his hunting prowess, and he got grounded. So he was not allowed to go out this morning and get more creatures. What? I didn't lock you in. You have been out all afternoon. We had to go to town too, and I didn't want him to bring something back while we were gone. So he got locked in the house today and has been outside playing merrily. But it sounds like he may have gotten locked back in. So you guys get to listen to his protests, which he is highly vocal about. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, so definitely bouncing around here and there. I will see what I can do to kind of rein this in a little bit. But anytime that you have a really abstract project, or certainly nature pieces, landscapes, I really recommend going with a system so you don't get really overwhelmed. And that system is totally up to you. A lot of times I'll do the 5-step shading scale, starting with darks and then moving up I find that that works quite well for me. Other people can just dive into an area and complete it and then move on to another area, and that works just fine as well. So I think at this point I'm going to kind of move away from the 3-step shading scale and maybe just try to develop the space around here, unless you guys have a different thought. I can stay with the 3-step shading scale if you prefer, 5-step shading scale if you prefer. I get a little abstract and I kind of bounce around a bit, but I can keep it on a system if you want. Yes, Chipper's definitely saying hi. Well, Vivian, we know if he's meowing, he probably does not have something in his mouth. Lynetta, yes, life is definitely hard. And we just do the best that we can. Art is so relaxing. Lynetta, your cat panther does the same thing. Bringing in the chipmunks. Yeah. Oh, absolutely, Zona. I had to ground him. He was a bad boy, bad kitty, and I mean, really 3 is a bit excessive, I think, for any cat. And we were in the active part of trying to corral the second chipmunk when he walks in the same room, one of my son's room, with another big fat chipmunk in his mouth. Needless to say, my son got a little bit upset. So here we have some neat little cracks and crevices. That always adds fun to the project. Really lean into these abstract shapes. Have fun with them. Follow the line work. Don't get too upset or too concerned if you make little happy mistakes, as the wonderful late Bob Ross would say. Alrighty. Barbara, your kitty brings you dust bunnies and kitty toys. Oh, that's much easier. Those are easier to clean up and catch. Lisa, I do talk to the kitties and all the pets just like they're humans. They're so sweet and so smart. I think it's amazing how many words animals really know, but I think a lot of times it's our tone of voice more than anything that they pick up on. Another thing to remember whenever we do a wood burning is that these dark values and the darker midtones, they take a lot of time. So this is completely in the ugly duckling stage. No worries. Just remind yourself that these darker values, they take time to build. The lighter values are the cake, like the icing on the cake, the cherry on the top, however you want to say that. And those go much more quickly. But these darks are absolutely the foundation of the project. If I don't get these darks dark enough, and then I possibly overshade my highlights, everything's going to turn to like an even level of mud. And you won't have any depth in your project. You won't have form. You won't have light. You won't have shadow. It'll just be kind of like a sea of similar brown. And I want to avoid that because I'm trying to get... this has a fantastic light source throughout this. So I'm really trying to capture the light source. And so you have to leave some of the wood unburned. And then the other areas, push those darks as much as you can. And then don't forget about those wonderful midtones. Where am I? There I am. Zona says Chipper is, where'd that go? He's listing his grievances. Yep. Mina, thank you for the reminder. Please like the video if you like it, and subscribe if you want to see more. Click the little bell icon to get notifications so that when I go live you won't miss out, because sometimes my schedule is a bit crazy. Other times I'm here like clockwork. So definitely put the notifications on so you don't miss out. Vivian says, with cats bringing in chipmunks and dogs trying to bring in squirrels, you're thinking you're gonna get a goldfish. Sounds good. Terry says, could you look at the list I just mentioned on what wood they have and let you know which ones not to bother with besides pine? Terry, I would definitely recommend that you go, we have a blog on Wood Burning University, and one of those articles talks about what is it, the wood toxicity chart. So I don't know, Mina, you may have already added that in there. I'm a bit behind in the chat, but if you want to add in the link to the wood toxicity chart that we have on Wood Burning University, that would be very helpful, I think, to both Terry and everybody else that is interested in that information. So you can kind of cross-reference any types of woods with that wood toxicity chart. Like, I'm pretty sure cedar is not a good one. I don't know them all by heart, so definitely take a look at that list, and that might give you a starting point on what to avoid. And don't forget that you have a wonderful resource in the people that mill the wood too. They should be experts in their field and know exactly what types of wood are safe to burn on, which ones are not. So I would rely on them as well. Okay. So I'm really liking this so far. Let's jump into, I'm really kind of trying to stay up here for right now. Let's jump into some of the general and lighter midtones, and you will see how this will just all of a sudden come to life. We'll fill in all of the structure in there. So you can kind of think about like the super darks and the darker midtones are kind of like the skeletal structure or the foundation of a project, whereas the midtones and the lighter midtones, you know, we're adding flesh to the skeleton. We're adding muscle, I guess you could say, more muscle and form. And then the lighter midtones are like putting the skin on it, where you can really just see the beauty of everything. If you like a foundation type of reference, darks are your foundation, darker midtones are like your framework, and then the lighter values are going to be the paint and the drywall and all those pretty things that make it just so fantastic. Let's see. Okay. Hi, Truth Seeker. Okay, Linyetta, you prefer more systems. Okay, I'll try to do that. I might follow a system kind of in a general area, and then we'll repeat those steps. So we're not sitting here watching me burn foundational darks for 2 hours. We'll mix it up and we'll add in some midtones here and there and make it look a little bit more like it's supposed to. Hi there, June. I'm still trying. I'm behind in the chat. Give me a second here. Kind of skimming. Oh, Terry. Okay, so you said that I think I did miss your post. The place that you're looking at have maple. I've heard maple is good to burn on. Walnut is very nice to burn on. It's a very darker. I have some right here. if you're interested in walnut, this is walnut here. It's very pretty. Bit darker. I like to go with the darker subjects for that one. So maple is good. Walnut is good. I don't know about pecan. Poplar is good. Box elder I think is really good for carving, but I don't know about burning. I don't have any information on that one. Eastern red cedar, I would be careful. I think I've heard that cedar can be toxic to burn on. And I love like cedar lined boxes, so I'm not sure why cedar might not be good to burn on. Look into that one. Cherry is great to burn on. I don't know about sycamore. Pine is a pain, but if you get it kiln dried, maybe some smaller test pieces. They're very blonde, very light golden honey in color, so they are very pretty. I don't know about beech. Birch should be good. Don't know about pear or holly. So hopefully that gives you a list or an idea of some that are definitely okay. Alrighty. Mina, thank you for that link. Anybody that is interested in wood toxicity, Mina put a link in the chat there. Please click on that and bookmark that so that you can refer to it back later in case you have more questions regarding whether wood is safe to burn on or not. Vivian is saying that usually exotic types of woods are more toxic. Okay. Let's see. Zona, I don't know. For some reason, I remember cedar not being a good one, but I don't know. It could be that somebody just had an allergy to it. But look into it, please. For some reason, that sticks in my mind that it might not be safe to burn on. Dick says that some woodworkers get skin irritation from walnut dust. That is good. I did not know that. Okay, so I'm going to work on this section of rock right here. And yeah, it looks crazy right now, but I'm going to follow this edge of the highlights and we're going to put in just a nice even mid-tone in here. And you can shade it really smooth if you want. You can add a little bit of texture. It's totally up to you. But I'm going to basically put all of this in shadow. None of this area right in here will have bright highlights. So it all needs a touch more of shading. Some of it's lighter and some of it's darker, but none of it is the unburned wood. And that is our highest level of brightness with a wood burning. Unless you want to add white, paint, or colored pencil, and that's fine too. Hi, White Wolf. Happy Friday to you as well. Terry, you clicked on the link. Oh, good. Inside of what Mina posted. Perfect. Let's see. Michael says that cedar is used to add flavor to food when grilling. Wow, that's cool. Yeah, and I know you have cedar-lined chests to help prevent moths in certain areas of the country. I love the smell of cedar. And it may just be something that I misread. I don't know. But definitely take a look at whether that one is safe or not. We can put in a little bit of extra texture in here if we want. It's kind of fun. Hi, Lori Lee. Oh, wow. I hope that your brain MRI went well. Oh, Lori Lee, yes, the replay of the video will be up. So you are welcome to watch that when you're feeling better. Let's see. Truth Seeker, you've been thinking about doing some nature pieces since you started burning, but you've been doing a lot of drawings of animals. Ah. Well, you know, Truth Seeker, just find a system that works best for you with any project. So right now, I started with the darks. You can see I have some of the level 5s in here, the darkest darks I can go. I usually put those in first. It gives me framework to add everything else. And then I'll go in and add the level 4s, which is a dark mid-tone. And right now I'm putting in the level 3s, which is just a general mid-tone. Although I am, you know, kind of varying it in here a little bit. I'm not making one consistent value and shading the whole thing, because then it's going to look flat. We need these little lighter areas and darker areas to add interest. But if I just do a simple shading, and I did this when I first started, if, here, let me do a little test here. Come here. So imagine that this is my rock work over here, maybe. And I have these really neat structures. I'm going to make it smaller so I don't have to burn so much. And these are my darks. Looks like bark, whatever. You get my, that general idea. If I go in and I want to take a shortcut and I just lay this flat on the wood and just shade the whole thing, that's a level 3, isn't it? However, because it's all one level, you're never going to see into the shadows. My father is a professional oil artist, and he always said that when you paint shadows, paint them in a way that you're not afraid to walk into them. Make sure that you can see into them. They're not just this dark, ominous blob. And so if I try to take a shortcut with shading, a lot of times it's going to be more of a blob. So you can see even though this is all generally a level 3, I am still varying that just a little bit. And I'm also taking the long route, and I'm using that upper part of the tip instead of just laying the shader flat on the wood. It'd be much easier and faster to lay the shader on the wood, but it doesn't give me the outcome that I want. And as we know, with wood burning, you can always go darker. So I have a little bit of an overhang in this area, is a fair bit darker than up here. That's just fine. That's kind of what I want, because we have this wonderful little cavern or cave or tunnel back there. So that area is going to be much, much darker than the vertical face here. So Mina says that there are about 11 types of cedar on the list about toxicity. Gotcha. Michael says that white cedar is not good to burn on. That's interesting. So yeah, definitely take a look at what type of cedar that you're working on, because that could make, it seems like, all the difference between a lovely type of wood and one that might not be very good for you. Okay, so now we're starting to develop a little bit more life in this project just by putting in our framework, and then we add in a little bit of the fun shading in there. Dick, you bring up a great point. Dick says that you discovered that you were allergic to Spanish cedar when you made humidor for your brother. So just because you know, I work on basswood, and I say basswood is great, it's a wonderful type of wood to work on, you may have a personal allergy to basswood or cedar or pine or anything else like that. So whenever you try burning on a new type of wood, just be careful, be cautious, listen to your body. If, you know, your eyes start watering, you start getting itchy, sneezy, a rash, anything like that, definitely take that seriously. And that just might not be the wood that you should work on. And that is totally fine. I know there's lots of different types out there. So hopefully you just kind of try around and see the ones that work best for you. All right, so let's see. This area in here, we have some wonderful hard edges. Oh, I need to move me again. Whee! Okay. So we have this fantastic edge here with the light, which I pretty well have in place already. And then coming down, we have some sorry, my brain turned off. We have some lighter midtones in here. Sorry about that. Multitasking is so fun. Again, burning is more simple, talking is hard. Doing them both at the same time can sometimes be humorous, so thank you for bearing with me on that. Let's see. White Wolf says you're happy that we're doing this tutorial now. It will help you with water later. Yep. We're, as we mentioned in the beginning, I know you weren't here for the beginning, White Wolf, but since we don't use paint and we just work with dark values, we can't just go in here and add a wonderful splotch of white paint to make that waterfall. So we have to work around the water. You don't really burn the water, you burn the areas around it, and that will give the waterfall the negative space that it needs to create the form of the water. All of the water will be burned except for this super bright highlight up here, but everything else will get a little bit of value and shading on it. Just a touch, we don't need a lot, but where this piece will really shine is these areas right in here. The more that we can make the dark areas around the waterfall rich and deep and just wonderful dark value, that is what's going to make that waterfall pop. So even though, yes, this is a waterfall tutorial, it's more about working around the water than anything else. The water will go quite quickly to burn. It'll take just really a matter of minutes once we get to the waterfall itself. But you have to create the structure around it, otherwise it won't work. So. And then your stroke direction is also very important. Anytime that we're working with vertical falling water, we want vertical strokes. Anytime we're working with this horizontal water, we're going to use those horizontal strokes as well. And just notice that that is getting kind of blown out, so I'll fix that. Michael says water burning drives you batty. Yes, it certainly can. I really like it. I find it very relaxing. It's very abstract. I would much rather burn water than a portrait. Or even wildlife can be kind of tricky. So I enjoy the spontaneity of water. But if I came in here on this project and immediately started in on the waterfall, I think that I would really struggle because you don't have the cage, the building blocks around it, however you want to put that. I completely forgot that rock there. Oh well. It's gone. It fell off and landed in the creek. Alright, so here we have some more darker mid-tones. right. So I'm still really trying to follow my 5-step shading scale. Dark darks, and then darker midtones. Right now I'm working on midtones. Just still kind of focused around this area. What else do we have? We have some rocks up here. Okay, that's all fun and dandy, but let's try to focus more in here. Okay, next let's jump to some of our lighter midtones. This is one of my favorite areas to really have fun with. This is like the icing on the cake, and it just makes everything kind of tie together so much easier and more quickly. So I'm still on max heat, but I'm going to burn a little bit quicker. I'm still working on throwing a little bit of texture in there instead of a really nice and smooth, consistent shading. I'm doing kind of that rough dot slide kind of a thing. And I'm behind in the chat. Let's see. Lynetta says, I love the idea of shading by tones versus areas. Brilliant way to keep it from looking monotone. Also helps to keep an eye on the gradients throughout versus getting distracted by the image itself. Very, very good information. Yep, well said. Yep. Whenever I have a difficult project, that's what a lot of times I'll do. I just break it down into those. You got 5 steps. And I have those in my book. I don't think I have a book handy, but just 5. You don't have to worry about 20 different values. It's too much. Just do 5, and it's super easy because technically there's only 4. Value 1 is the unburned wood. So you've got the darkest darks that you can possibly get with that type of wood. That's your level 5. Level 4 is your darkest midtone. A level 3 is your midtone. A level 2 is your light midtone, and a level 1 is pretty much the unburned wood. And then if you want to add a 0, that's where you add paint or colored pencil. So that's kind of fun too. But keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate it and have 30,000 different micro graduations of a gradient. Because once you get these 5 basic gradients, you can blend them, and we can just, okay, you know, maybe I want to make this crevice here a little bit darker. That's nice. Maybe a touch darker here. And so at that point, then I kind of fine tune and look at my reference photo and think, oh, you know, this area is a little bit too light. Let's darken it up a tad. And then you can massage it and really make it more fun. All right, so here we are working on so I am blowing on the point a little bit to cool it down. So this is our level 2s. Just a light, nice, gentle bit of shading to add some more information. I'm not going to add a lot up in here because it's so bright from the highlights. Hi, Jezere. Let's see. White Wolf says, I like how people burn water scenes. My head just can't understand the concept of water splash, mist, and reflections. Gotcha. I would say the biggest thing with that is don't think about them as mist and water and reflections. Think about 2 things, and that's your value and your shape. And then you can add another link in, the word link, value, texture, and shape is all we got to really think about. So I'm gonna move me again. I'm gonna get this stuff down here. So we're gonna go over there. I kind of forgot this is a darker mid-tone in here, and then we have a nice mid-tone across the top. A little bit of a lighter mid-tone on the very top. And there we have a nice little rock. And if it looks too plain, you can add some cracks, crevices, nooks and crannies, and all kinds of that fun stuff. But I find that we just need to treat this like abstract shapes. Match the value. And when I say value, it just is how dark or how light it is. That's all value is. Very simple. The nice thing about wood burning is that we don't have color to worry about. All you have to do is try to match your lights and your darks. Right down in here, it's kind of a triangular shape. Has like a little head like a scarecrow, a couple little arms on there, and there we have that abstract shape. You don't have to name it or give it funny terms like that. You know, mostly here's kind of a weird arc with a jaggedy edge at the bottom. It's mostly a level 4. And there we go. This little triangle piece is more of a level 3. Here's a 3. It's almost like burn by numbers, really, if you think about it. And that's why I did this in my book, is because I wanted to make it just as simple as I could, because wood burning is tough enough. But just find a system that you like that works well for you to break it down into the simplest possible repeatable method. Whee! There we go. Let's see. Lynetta is asking about a link to the book. Mina has that in there. Thank you, Mina. Hi, Chipper. Thanks. Yeah, I love the books. What? Well, come here. You can come see me. Come on. Oh, I do have one of the books here. What you doing? Hi. Hopefully you don't have critters in your mouth. So really quick to give you kind of an idea of the shading scale here. Let me refocus. So I've made 2 books so far by Fox Chapel Publishing. And the first one that I did is burning realistic animals. So this is a little bit more of an advanced book, but it has basics in it that are so great to reference. Hi. And so here's one of my very first wood burnings. This is on aspen. Guys, my husband cut it. He cut a slab with a chainsaw. I had no idea what I was doing. I used the Versatool and all kinds of different points. I think I just kind of free-handed it, and this taught me a lot about sanding the wood is very important, and then what the different points are able to do. So, yeah, this is how I started. We all get there. We all start from the beginning. But anyway, I have a gallery in the beginning of some of the things that I've done. Chipper! Quit! But there's great basic stuff. You've got your safety, how to get started, tools and equipment, what all the points do for both the Versatool, because that was one of the most popular ones until they went out of business. And then I've got some for the razor tip, different ways to use those, more tools and supplies, different types of wood, how to prepare the surface. So working from photos, there's all kinds of great stuff in here, stop spots, you name it. Common challenges with wood burning realistic wildlife. So it just goes, oh, and here's what I wanted to show you. So here's the shading scale that I use, and this is done on basswood. each wood will have their own slightly different shading scale, but this is all it is. And if you want to break it down into 3 steps, you have 1 is your unburned wood, 3 is your darkest dark, and then you have 1 mid-tone. And then you can blend in between those if you want. So there's little exercises on using still life toilet paper for shading. So anyway, it's a great book. And then I talk about color, all kinds of alcohol inks. It's so fun. And then you have different projects, like we got rabbits and horses and bobcats. So if you don't have this yet, definitely look into that. It's great even for both beginner and advanced students to reference a lot of the more basic information in there as well. And then I also have another book, and it is more beginner based, but it also has a lot of these great tips in there as well. So Mina, thank you very much for that link. Chipper was my little chorus in the background while we were going over the books there. Yep, he has to help out and comment. Glad the books help for those that have it. I reference it a lot of times too because I can't always remember what I wrote, and it is a handy resource. And lots of fun projects in there of different skill levels. So very fun. Okay, here we go again. So we are starting to develop the rocks quite well. I'm loving what we have started. So these lighter areas should go much more quickly. So I am blowing on the point because I'm too impatient to let the burner cool down for these lighter areas. Okay. If you are uncomfortable with doing that, blowing on the point, just turn the burner down and then just focus on all the lighter areas of the project as you kind of work on those. So these rocks are definitely in the highlight. And then be mindful when you have an overlap, so we have overlapping rocks, that there will generally be a value change in there for the most part. The rock that is behind or underneath will generally be much darker. White Wolf, Chipper better not have a chipmunk. He's going to be grounded again tomorrow. So we're at our wits' end with this cat and the chipmunk ordeal. So I was looking and I thought there has to be some sort of AI-powered cat door that can scan the cat and see if it has something in its mouth and then lock the door and keep him out. Well, apparently there is. I don't even know what it's called. I just kind of stumbled upon it last night looking for an answer to this madness. Because we have 4 cats and they're always in and out and they have to be able to come in because there's predators outside. We don't have a garage or anything like that. So I'm like, there has to be a way. So I'm looking at trying to make a tote that is in the house that the cats can come into, and then they spit out the chipmunk in the tote, and there's a hole cut in the tote which the chipmunk will run into a little retrievable box. saves the chipmunk, saves us from having to deal with a chipmunk under the dresser or under the couch. And then, once the AI cat door has detected that the cat no longer has something in its mouth, it opens the door in the tote, and lets the cat in. So, I don't know. We'll see if that might work, but he is something else. All right. Thanks, everybody. I'm glad that you like the books, and appreciate, Zona, that you reference it as well. It's nice to have something easy that you can just flip through, and saves us a little bit of time. Lynetta, you're saying that you need to do more gradient practice. So, and that's another one in the book, is start with that 5-step shading scale, and then put them in blocks. They're nice and contained, and then try to practice shading and blending them together to make one smooth gradient. That's a really fun and neat exercise. Yes, Vivian, Chipper does ask for forgiveness instead of permission. He's an ornery thing. Okay, so I'm going to add a little bit of a harder edge around that rock. That's nice. A little bit more there. And if I want more shadows between my rocks here, I can put them in. Remember that the reference photo is there as a reference, but it's not like the main rule. You can change it up. You can have fun. Okay, so that's all looking pretty good. Yeah, I don't think I want this. I can't see that, sorry. All right, guys, I'm going swimming. Yay, I'm down here now. I find it a little bit distracting to have this bright waterfall coming down in the background, so I'm probably going to take that out, and I'm going to make this area up here kind of a dark recess. And I'm not going to put all that in right now, but I am going to block in this rock that has this beautiful bright highlight to it. And we can darken all that up later. And we'll work on the bushes. We have a bush up here and a bush over there. Okay, so this is looking much, much better. I think I need a little structure up here as well. So all we have done for the past 2 hours on this project is burn around the waterfall. And that is exactly what we need to do in order to make this all work out. Sometimes I like to go and soften some of the edges between the bright highlights and the shadows. You don't have to. That may have been a little bit much, but I'm just going to put a overhang in here and it'll be just fine. Okay. Alrighty, we're getting there, guys. Let's see. Now I'm in the way again. I'm going to come down here and put those nice rocks in the bottom. Yeah, White Wolf, I will look for that cat door AI thing. Vivian says your money's on Chipper. He'll find a way to fool the AI. Oh, probably. Yeah. He'll show up with like something in his mouth and a little picture of his face on a stick and fool the camera. He'll be in. Okay. Lynetta says that a video said that cats bring in food because they think we're incompetent and they're trying to teach us to hunt. That's fun. I think that Chipper loves chasing and hunting chipmunks so much. He doesn't kill them, he just plays with them. That he enjoys it so much that he brings us toys because we get really loud and excited when he does. And it makes him happy because he's sharing his joy with us and brings it into the house for convenience and just lets him loose. And then he goes off and he has a nap while we tear apart the house to try to save the chipmunk. He's like, I am so glad I brought them a toy. They seem so distracted. And look at all the hours of fun that they're having now. So I think that's kind of how his little fuzzy brain works. But he's a high energy kitty, and yet he's the coolest laid back cat that you can imagine. Mina says, today I saw a hawk swoop down, grab another bird, pin it to the ground, and then lift off with it clutched in its claws. And you've got some photos. Oh, how cool. I bet that's amazing. That's not something that you would probably see very often. That's really neat. Let's see. Terry says it would take you a week to get as far as we did in 2 hours. Well, and this is small. This is, I'm not doing a big one like we did last time. I need a break from a big project for wood burning. This one is smaller, so it's going to go a little bit faster. And I'm not really treating this like a finished piece. Really, I'm trying to treat this more like a study. And so with studies, the word study for me kind of opens up the ability to be more loose, more free, just play around a little bit more, really focus on those darks and the lights and the texture. So if that helps you, instead of thinking, oh, this has to be perfect, I'm moving really fast. And if this was like a perfection piece, I would be, same as you, I'd be twice as long to get to this point. But I'm treating it like a study to show you guys the basics of how to do this. And it helps me to be just a little bit looser and more free. Let's see. Larry agrees that you would block out the other water and make the center waterfall the highlight. Yep. That's what we're going to shoot for. Oh, wow. We've got 5 minutes. Well, I started a little bit late, so we got 7 minutes here. Vivian says, I think it's more that Chipper is the one having fun. Yeah, I agree. It's like, those humans are so boring. I need to give them something fun to do. And then he says, my job is done here. I'm going to go have a nap. Or better yet, bring in 2 more chipmunks so that everybody has a toy to play with. So even though he was grounded today, he was very vocal all day long that we were here before we went to town. And so he likes to play fetch. We have these little balls that are foam and they bounce, and he'll chase them and jump on. He loves it to fetch, and he'll bring them back in his mouth and drop them. And so fun. But that's a very more of a time requirement to spend with him. And when that doesn't work, we get out the catnip to distract him. Good news is he gets very distracted. Bad news is he likes to beat up on his sister cat and the other cat that we have, and so he becomes a little bit of more of a menace. And so we have this carrot. It's a stuffed carrot. It's a cat toy that's about that long, and he just thumps it with his back feet and he tears it up. So Carrot is the punching bag for the cat to save the other cats when Chipper is just out of control. He's a very high maintenance cat. The girls are so laid back. Oh boy. Yep. Yeah, and our house is small for a family of 5, and it is not one of those beautiful homes you see on Instagram. We got stuff everywhere, and we're all packed in here like sardines. So when he turns a critter loose, it's a good time to clean that part of the house, because we have to move everything. Oh boy, guys. Terry, you're welcome. For the explanation on, yeah, this is a study. I'm learning. That's what I'm doing here. In this case, I'm teaching. So studies are great for both learning and teaching and practicing. Even if you take this into a smaller, scaled down version, if this might be a daunting project for you, scale it down. Make it a little bit smaller. And then your eye really has to focus on, okay, instead of all this detail that I just put in here, you just have basically a triangle of darkness right there. And then you have kind of a weird wedge-shaped piece here of darkness. So scale it down. If you're uncomfortable with trying a new subject, make it smaller. Do just a small swatch, 3x3 or 3x5, 3x4, something small, and that focuses your eyes on light, dark, and shapes. At that point, forget texture, doesn't matter, and just focus your eyes on those two things: light, dark, and shapes. So it's good to practice. Thanks, Barbara. White Wolf says, if you want to scare Chipper, get a dancing cactus. Oh, he would beat the tar out of that dancing cactus. I bet he would love that as a toy. He's something else. Good night, Larry. Thanks so much for being here. See you next week. Oh boy. Oh, I love all the kitty talk there. Linyata says that sometimes you only trace part of the pattern with the thought that if it looks good, you'll finish it. And if not a ton of tracing time is lost. That's a good point too. Yep. All very good. Okay, so yeah, this area up here seems a bit unfinished. And that's another thing. If you don't want to spend time on all this extra stuff around the edges, do just an oval. Ovals cut down on so much of that like dead space in the corners, unless you really want a more of a square format. Do an oval, do a circle. Sometimes you can have fun and just leave parts of it unfinished. Artists that work with pencil do that all the time, and they just like, okay, sketch in like here's an imagined area right in here, and the farther out they get from the subject matter, the looser that they get. And so that's a great way to practice a certain area, and I'm in the way again, but not be overwhelmed with all of the details. So reference some graphite drawings. Those are so fun, and you can see what they do here like this. They just do some sketch lines to indicate that there's more out there, and I think that's a really pretty look. So for your study, if you're happy with what you have there for the waterfall and you don't really want to spend a lot more time on everything, try this fun little pencil sketch. I'm not going to do that down here because I want to show you that. And then we have some foliage, some bushes and stuff in here. those are kind of fun there too. So imagine you have more of a big marker or something like that. It is fun, Terry. Once you kind of learn what you want from the project, have fun. Do something different. Do some cross-hatching. I love the style of graphite or like charcoal drawings with this cross-hatching stuff in there. It's just really cool and very pretty. So another thought, if you don't want to spend all that time in the other areas, but you don't want it to look super unfinished either. Alrighty, well, we made a lot of great progress tonight. I'm very happy with what we have there. I think that's the meat and the potatoes of the project, is this beautiful richness right in there. And then we're going to certainly add more dark up here. We'll have some bushes that go from dark to light, and that the lighter bushes will come forward. We'll have our dark background behind and really make that separation there. These rocks down here are going to be a lot of fun. They overlap. We'll have one darker and one lighter, and they'll push forward. And then the favorite part of this whole project is going to be the water itself. So once we get all this other framework in, don't miss that. And very, very excited to create the shadows and the reflections and the highlights and the motion and all that. So I hope you guys have learned a little bit as far as burning waterfalls. That we haven't even burned the water, but everything is about burning around the water. So look forward to next week. I plan on being here next Friday, and we'll carry on with part 2 of this wonderful, beautiful project. Thanks, Mina. Thank you so much for all your help and everything that you do. So much appreciated. All right. Thanks again, guys. If you have any questions, let us know. Alrighty. Fantastic. All right. We will see you guys next week. Bye.